Good morning, traders. This is the first day assembly presented by www.AsterCharts.com. This summary has been reflected the whatever been talked in the Champions live stream produced by the Daniel. So the Champions live stream first published on 9th June 2026. In this stream, Daniel basically first talked about the NQ trade of stock market, and he talked about the two scenarios which can be played out in NQ. So in the first scenario, basically he talked about the value area high in confluence with CC at $30,000 NQ. So this is the first source setup, and the first resistance in the NQ. You can expect a significant pullback from this zone, and this the same you can expect in the Bitcoin price to be reflected later. The second scenario basically is talked about the basically the reclaim setup. So if we reclaim $30,000 on NQ, we can expect a significant all-time high on NQ, and the same you can expect a significant rise in the price of Bitcoin if NQ reclaim the $30,000. I have also presented a diagram in using the Claude AI model. Bullish scenarios and bearish scenario has been presented in the diagram. So basically the bullish scenario will be the price reclaim of $30,000 in confluence with CC zone, and bearish scenario will be the rejection from the value area high in confluence with CC, which is basically pointing towards the $30,000 zone. So basically Daniel talked about the NQ2 setup, a short setup from $30,000 zone. Moving on to the second analysis about Bitcoin. In this Bitcoin analysis, Daniel talked about how he had taken a long trade around the SFP of the all-time low of Bitcoin, which is basically $59,888. He did $66,750 reclaim, and the second one is the same level, which is $66,750 rejection. So this diagram is presented with the help of Claude AI. Now in there is two scenario which he is reflecting about the Bitcoin, which is first scenario is if we reject from the $66,750, basically around the $67,000. This is in confluence with the point of control, value area low, and daily naked point of control. We can expect a short trade around this zone. And the second scenario, he talked about the reclaim of the $67,000. If we get the reclaim, then we expect a significant rise in this towards the $75,000. I would like to analyze three things that Daniel has been missing in his Champions live stream. The first one is the open interest. You can clearly see in that 4-hour time frame, the open interest is basically the flat, and there is a significant rise in the little bit rise in the Bitcoin price. But basically, it shows the bearish environment. The traders are not interested in opening any kind of position. So open interest is basically the flat. The second analysis which Bitcoin Daniel has clearly been missing out is the ETF inflow and outflow. And this coin glass chart, you can clearly see the red streaks at the down towards the downside, and basically that means the institution are basically pulling out the volume from the Bitcoin market and not doing any kind of significant buy. The official Farside investors website, you can clearly see there is a significant outflow of $230 million, $77 million, $91 million. This is basically going on and on and on. Basically the institution are pulling out the volume, and that's why the market is going towards the downward direction. It is still not reflecting any kind of green volume and buying volume. The third thing that Daniel has clearly been missing out the Coinbase Premium Index. So basically represent the whether the US are interested in buying Bitcoin or not. So you can clearly see that premium index is going red and red and red. Even at the all-time low, there should be the US should consider buying the Bitcoin, but it doesn't. And US are not clearly interested in buying any kind of Bitcoin. But the other exchanges like Binance and South Korean exchange, Hubei, and other kind of exchanges must be buying. That's why there has been rise in the Bitcoin. So basically, the open interest, ETF inflow outflow, and the Coinbase payment index basically suggesting the Bitcoin is still bearish and it can make another low. Again, Daniel talked about significant importance of $67,000 Bitcoin, which carries three confluences zone. Again, we have a Claude AI model diagram defining the summary of Daniel trade. The three confluences zone, basically the first one is a fixed range on a smaller time frame, which was pulled from 31st January till 6th June. You can clearly see the point of control and value area low aligning towards the $67,000, which Daniel talked about. And there's a second confluence zone. If you go to the weekly and daily time frame and pulled a fixed range, you can then you can get a point of control reflecting towards $66,874, which basically comes around the $67,000. So basically we have a three confluence zone area around $67,000, and we have a Claude AI model diagram also defining the same thing, that is the higher time frame weekly point of control and lower time frame local point of control, and that reflects towards the $66,750 to $67,000. This zone is important, and if we reject, and then the Claude says that we can rotate towards the $55,000 to $58,000. And if we reclaim, then Claude says we can move faster to the $77,000, which basically what Daniel has also been talked about in Champions live stream. Elliott with wave count 1 in his Champions live stream. Daniel relied on 335 expanded flat Elliott wave count. So basically in the chart you can see from 5 to A we have 1 2 3. From A towards down B we have 1 2 3. From B towards C we have 1 2 3 4 5. From the perspective of Daniel, 1 2 3 4 5 has been finished. Then he said WXY combination. In earlier Champions live stream, he talked about how the current SFP was not the normal SFP like previous ranges, uh, and it still can go higher, which has clearly invalidated now, and we can see a significant down in the price. Now we have also presented a diagram using the Claude AI model. The Claude AI model basically not agreeing with what Daniel has said and more pointing towards 1 2 3 4 5 than ABC. And after finishing the swing failure pattern of the all-time low, we have another wave structure forming. Now the Claude AI model does point towards 55k, as you can clearly see in the diagram, and clearly not agreeing with what Daniel has said. AI relies on the fact that wave 5 has still not been completed yet, but Daniel said 1 2 3 4 5 on the higher time frame has been completed. What Claude AI said, it has not been completed yet. Whatever the Claude AI model is showing, it basically criticizing the first Elliott wave count of Champions live stream and not all the Elliott wave count presented in the Champions live stream. Few other things has been missing out by Daniel. You can clearly see in the first chart, this is part of our own website and not the other website. So basically you can see a trend line which does point towards $55,000 if Bitcoin rejects from $67,000 and goes towards 55k, as you can clearly see in the Coinbase chart. Another thing is a graph has been taken from the blog website, and this only reflect whether the institution is bidding or not in the current environment, and the present graph only reflects the Binance and Binance related institutions. So basically you can see that the graph is basically flat and below the 0.5 Yes, so basically it is below the 0.5, and currently the institution are clearly not bidding in the current environment. Another one is BTC ETH futures volume 7-day moving average. So it you can clearly see on 5 June we have a significant rise in the volume which reflect a major move is coming, and it can go either side. It can go to $77,000 or it can go towards the $55,000. Whenever in the past, if you can clearly see on February around, we have a major significant rise in the 7-day moving average volume, and at that point of time I think there has been a significant crash in the price. So that's how this can be used. This also has been taken from the block website, the block.com, I think. And the third one is the 7-day moving average funding rate. So whenever there is a significant rise in the funding rate, then you will see a major drop in the price in Bitcoin and other as major. We have a rise in the chart, major rise, and that was around 30th May, and there was a significant drop in the price also. The Bitcoin has crashed around like 31st May. Yes, the 31st May, you can see that the Bitcoin is clearly reject going down, 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 and the 7-day moving average funding rate is clearly significant rise around that point. You can go to the blog website and you can see this same chart and analyze your own. Now, if you want the full analysis of the Champions live stream, you can go visit our website, that is www.astercharts.com or www.bellix.com.